We're going to talk about the Showtime boxing schedule they released. And at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you what fight excites me the most. Before I begin, did anybody see the over-the-top TRILLER show last weekend? Over the top. Roll call. Snoop Dogg, Jaleel White, Steve Urkel, E40, Ice Cube, Too Short, Teofimo Lopez, some Saturday Night Live comedian who's terrible. Don't know his name. Doja Cat, Ric Flair, Chuck Liddell, Justin Bieber, the Black Keys, Oscar De La Hoya, who sounded like he was on the sauce. Those are some of the people who were there. I kept turning and looking at the whatever fight that was, the Tony Harrison card, and then I flipped back and forth. All right, so let's talk about the Showtime schedule that was released earlier this week. And I'll cover from top to bottom. So, May 15th, Louis Nery taking on Brandon Figueroa for the WBC World Super Bantamweight or Junior Featherweight title. This is a decent matchup. Figueroa is clearly about 3 to 4 inches taller than Nery. And he's got a major reach advantage. Like something close to 6 inches. Brandon Figueroa is Omar Figueroa's younger brother. He's very, very big at the weight. Very big. But I have to wonder if the weight advantage on fight night, the height advantage, and the major reach advantage will be enough. I wonder if he's in too soon with Nery. If you look at his fight with Julio Ceja, it was a draw. By the way, thanks to our guy, our favorite boxing judge, Don Trella, coming to your area, causing mass hysteria. Don Trella. You'll see in that fight, Omar had the similar physical advantages that he'll have on fight night with Nery. I mean, he looked like a junior welterweight in there. And if he's mastered the weight rehydration, then he could be a problem. Like his brother, Brandon is a fighter. And what that means is he gives his height and reach up and just likes to bang in there. And Nery might take him up on that. Figueroa also likes to switch between orthodox and lefty, and he'll attempt to confuse Nery. Nery wants to get inside and land power shots. And even though it'll look like a flyweight in there fighting a lightweight, I think Nery might be a little too seasoned for Brandon right now. But we'll see. Next up is a fight with Nordine Oubaali defending his WBC World Bantamweight title against Nonito Donaire. Interesting fight here. Both guys had power. Ubali is 17-0 with 12 knockouts. He's knocked out 6 of his last 8. And in this fight, I think we're gonna get an upset in a new champion. If Donaire's body agrees with him at 38 years old, I think he's gonna land his money shot. A big shot, because a big left hook, because it's going to be there. Last time out, Ubali beat little brother Inoue, by a wide decision. And I think what Donaire is going to do is, I think he's going to set some traps, and eventually he's going to catch him, whether he's up or down. Ubali, he beat Roche Warren in a clear unanimous decision. So, on the flip side, if Donaire slips up and gets caught, his career may end on the night of May 29th. But it'll be interesting. I think Donaire might get him, and I think he's going to land that left hook, and I'm not sure Ubali will be able to withstand it. Okay. Next, we have Jamal Charlo versus Juan Montiel. Yes, that Juan Montiel, you say. Come on, man. Let's get real. Yes, the Juan Montiel who knocked out the great James Kirkland in December. Kirkland had been off over a year. But it doesn't matter. This was the great James Kirkland. Mandingo Warrior. Juan also had a draw with future Hall of Famer Hugo Centeno Jr. You know Hugo's going to the Hall of Fame, right? Listen, Charlo needs to fight somebody, okay? Someone who's better than Montiel. But someone who isn't an old man either. How about former Montiel opponent Jaime Munguia? How about that? Listen, whoever it is, after this tune-up, it's time to cross barriers and fight real guys. I like Charlo early in this one, unless he wants work. If he wants work, it'll go some rounds. But if he's just coming for that paycheck, then I like him. I like him early. Now he just brought in a new set of eyes with Mark Breland, so Charlo might want to get some rounds in and work on some things. But if he's himself, then I like him early. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with the voice here. The next fight is an unworthy pay-per-view event. But you have and you will see a bunch of pay-per-views. It's not going to change. Gervonta Davis will challenge Mario Barrios for his WBA World Super Lightweight or Junior Welterweight title. Listen, Barrios should cause Davis some problems. He's at least 5 inches taller and definitely has the reach advantage by, who knows, a handful of inches. Barrios, he can move a little bit. He has decent power. He's put people out to the body in numerous fights. However, when you see those fights, he's usually allowed to come forward as opponents go backward or or they hold their ground and they get hit. He's received a gift or two in fights because he's been on the right side of the promotion. In order to beat Davis, however, not only does he have to keep him outside by popping a jab and moving at angles, but he needs to try to catch Davis when he comes in with that same jab. All right? It'll be there. He also has to throw the lead right hand at times and not the same jab, right hand, left hook thing. The lead right hand and then a hook to the liver. And do it another time, but this time, throw the hook up top. He has a very good left hook, and it'll serve him well in this fight. Davis, on the other hand, he's going to look to get inside, and he's going to be in his seek and destroy mode, especially to the body of Barrios. Because he'll look to take the movement away with his body work. And here comes our dreaded ambulance again. This never fails. As Barrios uses his earmuffs, Gervonta will try to catch Mario with an uppercut, a left uppercut, or a right uppercut. And also in this fight, Davis might try to pace himself because cutting the ring off is one thing, but giving chase is something different. And Davis, as we're reminded, he kind of faded in the Gamboa fight. Now, those on his side will say, well, he didn't train for Gamboa as seriously as he should have. All right, whatever. He also gets big in between fights, so I think that also came into play. I thought he was getting touched up by Leo Santa Cruz before he landed that missile. If you look at his face after the fight, and then especially at the post-fight stuff, you saw swelling. Leo was tagging him. I call it straight down the line. Look at it. In this fight, Davis will be the favorite, but win or lose, the fights for him are at 135 pounds and maybe a couple at 130 pounds. He needs to be there. That's where the killers are, and he's a killer. Look, you guys got to line each other up and fight for supremacy. It's just not happening. But imagine if he wins and stays at 140. And imagine if he wins and Jose Carlos Ramirez beats Josh Taylor. Could you imagine Ramirez versus Davis for a unification? Man, look, I'd pay for the 13th row. I'd pay for 13th row seats for that. I'm telling you, these two come forward guys, oh my gosh. Speaking of Gamboa, on July 3rd, he gets a title shot. Yes, a title shot. Now, like Davis and Barrios, these guys will be fighting for a WBA World Super Featherweight or Junior Lightweight title. But this is the WBA. So while Ramirez and Taylor fight for the World Boxing Council World Super Lightweight or Junior Welterweight title, also for the World Boxing Association Super World Super Lightweight or Junior Welterweight title, the International Boxing Federation IBF World Super Lightweight or Junior Welterweight title, the World Boxing Organization World Super Lightweight or Junior Welterweight title, which means the winner of Jose Carlos Ramirez and Josh Taylor is the undisputed champion, right? Yet, they're still saying Barrios and Davis are fighting for a title. So you tell me. Now, there is no word interim before Barrios' title. And of course, there's a word super in front of Josh Taylor's title. So it's the WBA Super World Super Lightweight or Junior Welterweight title. Anyway, as upset as people are that Chris Colbert is defending his title against Yuriorkis Gamboa, I'm going to give it a pass for two reasons. It doesn't make it right, but I'll let it slide. Firstly, Chris Colbert, if you haven't seen him fight, he is going to be a star. He is a fantastic talent. However, he's a champion with only 15 fights. And as the trend goes, a lot of champions are still champions in learning. Like they're at the stage where they should just be going from, they should still be prospects. Maybe a contender outside of the top 20 or something like that. But it's like Anthony Joshua. I mean, he was a champion with so few fights. He beat Klitschko and what did he have? Like the same amount of fights maybe? So the WBA they do call this the interim title. Although Colbert won it in his last fight, in his last 2 fights ago. Okay? So 2 fights ago, you're the interim champion. You fought again, I'm assuming it's for the belt, and you win, but you're still called interim. Now you got to match up with Gamboa, and you're still referred to as, and will be afterwards, the interim champion. When you make sense out of it, come see me. I give Gamboa a pass here for one thing. Like I said, it doesn't make it right that I'm giving him a pass, but this supposedly washed up old man fought Gervonta Davis. My gosh. If anybody's into MMA, this UFC 261, and they're interviewing, I'm just watching this with the mute on. They're showing this main event that's going to come on Saturday, and they're talking to the 2 guys from the main event, and this ring girl or whatever she is behind them, oh my gosh. Ooh, hot. Anyway, so Gamboa's washed up. He's a wash. He fights Gervonta Davis and went 11 and a half rounds, which is impressive. What's more impressive is he did it on one wheel, one leg, lasted until the 12th, and then he got stopped. He couldn't move. He couldn't get anything on his punches, and he stood there and he took it against a knockout artist. All right? This is the same Gamboa who's been dropped pretty close to 20 times in his career. I don't know how many, but I know it's in that 20 range. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less, but it's around 20. And he almost went the distance with one leg. Then he came back a year later and went 12 rounds with Devin Haney. And you know this guy isn't. You know he's not 39 years old. Come on. So a guy who's probably 40 plus and is coming off back-to-back losses gets a so-called title shot. Now that part is a joke. But the quality of losses, and the youth of Colbert and the shortness of his career kind of balances it out. I just wish it wasn't called an interim title fight. No matter how long Gamboa lasted in his previous 2 fights, he doesn't deserve this. But he deserved another good payday just for the way he fought in his last 2 fights. And it wasn't, I'm just going to run and get into survival mode. It was like, he hung in there. He dug as deep as he could. Hold on, give me 1 second. I need to plug this charger in. Give me a second. Okay. Let me see. What's on this? Wait a minute, Davis, Colbert, Jamal. Next up, Jamal Charlo. He defends his junior middleweight or super welterweight titles against Brian Carlos Castellano. I'm tripping. Castaño's a guy who he comes at you like a Gervonta Davis or a Mike Tyson. He doesn't have the power or the explosiveness like those two. Power and explosiveness would serve him well, because I think his undoing will be his height. He's only 5'7", and that doesn't usually work above, let's say, welterweight. And speaking of that, it's short for even welterweights. But speaking of that, he might want to watch some tape on Sean Porter. Sean is active, and he uses his angles and athleticism, and he's the exception to the height rule. Ask Errol Spence Jr., he'll tell you. So you have to go back to like 2014 before Charlo fought a guy comparable to Castaño in height. And so people say Jamal has been fighting better competition than his brother over the past few years. While that may be true, if you look a little deeper, it's only because he's had more PBC accepted opponents in his weight class than his brother in his weight class. So hopefully that'll change moving forward. It'll be interesting to see how the pressure is applied here by Castaño, but I think he'll eventually get picked off. Now, Castaño does have a draw with Erislandy Lara. Don't know if you saw that fight. So, next up is Guillermo Riggandiao, or Riggando for some of you. He'll be fighting Juan Casimero. Now, I got to be honest, and you can say this for a lot of fights, but I'm definitely saying it here. You just don't know what you'll get in this fight. Rigo's got that punch, okay? And it has bailed him out in a few fights. For example, he was losing to that guy, Ceja. The Solis fight was close to many viewers. And at age 40, I don't believe he's 40. We just don't know. We just don't know. He's never been a volume guy. He's defensive, and he likes punch placement over volume, okay? Casimero looks like the next big thing in one fight, and then he looks mixed up in what style he wants to use in another. If Juan is on, I think he has a good shot at pulling this one off, okay? I think he has a shot. All right. We also have David Benavidez versus Jose Uzcategui. Now, Uzcategui, actually, Benavidez, let's start with him. He has almost everything you want. Almost everything. But he has some demons he needs to keep in check. If he does, there aren't many who can beat him. Okay? Uzcategui was running through the division for a few years. He got a shot, and he lost to Caleb Plant. He took one fight at light heavyweight after that and won. Another fight back at super middleweight, and he lost by upset. Then one fight again at light heavyweight, and he won. So before the Plant fight, he fought at a career high. The fight just before the Plant fight, at a career high 172.5 pounds. This tells me he may have some bad habits of his own. He hasn't looked right. But once again, it seems like both these guys just always have stuff going on. Or at times, I should say. Jose was an opponent of the aforementioned Plant. So if Benavidez beats him, they need to make the fight with him and Plant. This is easy math. Benavidez will one day fight Gilberto Ramirez at 175 pounds. And that day may come sooner than later. So I don't want him to say he had to kill himself to make the fight with Plant should Caleb win that fight. I don't want him to say, hey, that fight should be next, pending a victory by Benavidez. I don't want to hear that excuse. And it probably would be legitimate as an excuse. I just don't want to hear it. The best way to do it is they have to make this fight. So what fight excites me the most? There are two names on the schedule, the list, but they're not fighting each other yet. The potential fight that excites me the most is if Luis Neri, or Luis Neri if you want to call it, if he defeats Brandon Figueroa, a September 11th showdown between Neri and Stephen Fulton Jr. is set to take place. Now, that fight gets me excited. That will be an action fight. Just action. If I'm Team Fulton Jr., even though he's a champion, I'd take a voluntary defense if it was available. Unless he's the type of guy who can fight with time off, then he'll be fine. I know what I would do. For Neri, if he wins, it'll be a 4-month turnaround to fight Fulton. For Fulton Jr., I think it'll be like 8 or 9 months that he'd be off. Either way, that's one I really, really want to see. I really want to see that one. All right, we got a big top-ranked card tomorrow. Edgar Balanga looks to continue his streak against Damon Nicholson. Now, Berlanga should win, but he better get Damon early. I've seen Damon fight a few times, and I'm telling you, he can crack, okay? Maybe Berlanga hits the canvas in this one if Damon gets a shot in. I'm telling you, he can hit hard. So we'll see, but Berlanga should win. Now, that card is headlined by a good matchup between Emmanuel Navarrete and Christopher Diaz. Diaz fought twice last year, and he's won 2 straight since being outclassed by Shakur Stevenson. All right. Both of these guys hit hard. Navarrete fights at a crazy, crazy rate. Navarrete fought 3 times in 2020, 4 times in 2019, 4 times in 2018, and 5 times in 2017. Okay? So, no question he'll be ready. Diaz, he likes to be aggressive at times, but when he fought Masayuki Ito, he seemed to be too cautious and froze at certain points. Now, Ito dropping him hard had a lot to do with it, I'm sure. But there were other opponents where he fought with patience and intelligence. The difference here is, just like with Barrios, is that Navarrete, he's going to be on him. He's not going to just sit back and say, okay, let me let this guy box patiently and intelligently. No, he's looking to mix it up. So Diaz might have to play a different game. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. This has a potential to be explosive. So make sure you see it. I think the top ranked card, I think it starts at 6 o'clock Eastern on ESPN Plus. And then it goes to ESPN. It's probably going to be either 9 or 10. Check your listings, though, because I'm not sure about the time. What else? Oh, interesting matchup between undefeated guys. This will be interesting. Jermaine Ortiz will take on one half of the Adorno brothers, Joseph Adorno. So I like that. 2 guys. Look, this used to be Showtime with Showbox, where 2 guys say, "Hey, look, we're undefeated. Let's test our skill against each other, and if you win, you move on, you move up, and if you lose, hey, learn from it." Another guy to take a look at is Xander Zayas. He's on the card. He's a hot prospect to check out too. So make sure you check that out. All right, I've talked too much already, so make sure you watch the fights, and we'll catch you later.